Let's see. The beginning of the chapter starts with
Okay.
the op-ed piece highlighting Eisner's time at Disney, written by Marty Sklar, with what he calls a thank you for the first decade of leadership. And he also points out
No.
in the article that the last decade of his leadership and all the issues that he had. It seems that the problem was a lack of trust in his key executives. Eisner didn't trust people, and we saw that with Iger, that counter that obviously when you have all that trust, it does help you to have some good times with your people. They seem to work better when they feel trusted, and Eisner was not doing that. One part in the chapter was the expeditions paid for by Disney. And if you guys have any way to get me sent on one of those expeditions, please let me know. They're like all expenses paid, Africa, Asia, all that. Oh, that was really nice. They're to do research for Animal Kingdom. So unless we're making another one of those out here, I don't think I'm going to get to go. But that did seem like a really cool paid trip. Then we went into the Pressler era before Disney. And apparently the Pressler area, according to Marty, was skimping on maintenance, squeezing every penny out of retail, and foregoing the magic to save dollars, which is not a good way to keep your park looking nice. So then he even went after the submarine voyage, and I guess that's why in the end it shut down. I didn't know that, but he didn't. It was too expensive for Pressler to keep up, so he shut that down. And then Marty said he would rather die than see that go. But they did bring it back in a new form with the Finding Nemo. He believes that the estimate would be around $70 million that they had to spend to get everything back up to shape, that they could have just been, in the meantime, spending money on to keep it nice the whole time and possibly giving people a better experience in the long run. So in the long run, we save no money is what I'm trying to say. All of us, leads, managers, doesn't matter. This is like our motto at Disney, I think. It was management by walking around, and it paid big dividends in motivating the cast. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I hear that. It's good to see you. 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 Just walk around. I can't not emphasize, like, if you're a terrible leader, but you walk around a lot, you're still going to be a middling leader to everybody else because they see you. So it just ups your audience that much, just the fact that you're actually out there with them. So then he spent the last years of the company going around as an ambassador to different parks, explaining the Disney difference and Imagineering to many different audiences around the world, which doesn't sound like a bad way to spend your last few years. Then we'll go into the commandments. Let's see, I'll just try to pick the favorites for me. Creating a visual magnet. There's another name for it, but I'm just going to call it creating a visual magnet. I think that's a really cool one. I never noticed it until this book that when you're walking around the park, there's always that castle or small world in Fantasyland as you're walking down the Small World Mall, whatever it is, but it always pulls you toward it. It's a really cool idea. For every ounce of treatment, provide a ton of treat. It's a pretty cool idea. When you're teaching people things, don't just sit there and teach. Provide a ton of treat. I like that a lot. Something in the 30 commandments, one of those I liked. Create and maintain a climate of trust. We keep hearing this, but be trustworthy and make sure that people trust you, and be honest and forthgoing with your leadership style. It seems to keep coming up in our books. I'm sure we're going to hear it again next week even. Let's see. I love the idea of imaginations and its concentration on making sure Disney was diverse and inclusive. That did start all the way back in the 80s. If you guys ever get a chance to go to the diversity and inclusion meetings, I cannot highly suggest it enough. It was amazing in every way. And I mean, I never considered myself not being diverse or inclusive, but until I went to those meetings, I was realizing even in little ways that there's things that I was being, not inclusive about or not diverse about. It really opens your eyes. One of the things that I remember from the meeting was there was a raised stage in one of the panels we went to, and there was a ramp that went up it, and the three people that were the main three speakers were already on the raised dais. And there was one that had to roll in. She had to roll up the ramp, and then she had to get turned around. And the main guy who was there was like, "Can you please hurry up? Like, we're trying to do a panel." It was like being really rude. And it was all a show just to like let us know, like, this is what it's like for people like that when they don't have accommodations set up and ready for them, when they're having to take an extra step to be included inside of their own world, just like we have our own world that we're just walking upstairs and we're fine. But when they're having to go find an elevator or go find a ramp to go around, it can be more hard for them. So it was kind of a lesson in make sure you're being as completely diverse and inclusive as you can, even though you think you are being. Remember that. Don't even have a raised dais if you can, but they obviously did it just for this little skit they were putting on for us. But it really opened my eyes, and I think if you guys, hopefully next year we'll get to have them, obviously. Please go to them. They're definitely worth it. Yes, there was so much. Let's see if there's anything on these last 2 pages. Only thing I'm gonna say, and this is again from the same thing that Iger said: be optimistic. If you are not, who will be? It's great. I never thought about that. That's true. Let's see. Let's start with Judy.
Hi. So first, chapter 16, I hired in around the end of Pressler's regime, as Marty called it. And it was a difficult chapter to read because, again, I hired in around that time. And by that time, even though the cast members that I worked with were still very positive because they had that camaraderie, there wasn't a positive attitude when it came to management, because that's exactly what the higher ups were to us. We didn't really get to know anybody. I didn't know who my home team manager was until about 6 months in. Didn't really see anybody. They would introduce themselves and then I wouldn't see them for weeks at a time. Same thing with the leads. They were so, I guess, lost in their passion that they did the job that they were hired to do, and that was it. There was no engagement between me as a new hire and the leads, or me as a new hire and the managers. So it was hard to read, and it makes so much more sense why I was hired into that kind of environment, because for who knows, I don't remember the years. I was just really frustrated to hear the penny pinching and just, the fall from grace essentially that Pressler allowed to happen, and seeing how people just, well, yeah, I work at Disneyland. I mean, it's not the greatest thing, but I work at Disneyland. And again, the maintenance, and just seeing how much negatively affected, and not to mention the brand, like people, it took a long time for people to have a positive opinion of Disneyland parks because of just everything that was, oh, well, no, we don't have the costs for that. Like, oh, hey, here's a laundry list of things that need to be maintenance. Well, that's going to cost money. Let's just forget about that. No, it doesn't need a new coat of paint. That attraction's fine. If it's running, it's fine, So the fact that it affected so much, and reading this chapter and reading about when Eisner stepped down and Iger took over, it took years to feel his impact. I think I was with the company 5 years before that perspective changed of I work for a management team to I am part of a leadership team, because by that point I was already a lead. It took so long to feel that change in leadership, and it's kind of sad that it went that way. But again, like we talked about at the beginning, like it went from a leadership to management and then back to leadership, and all the hard work that Bob Iger and everyone else in the company had to work for to fix what was broken in the past. Unfortunately, it was broken because, again, that mentality people didn't have, like, well, you go to Disneyland because you have to go at least once in your life, not because it's the best park in the world, it's the best experience in the world, it's the happiest place in the world, but it's just on everyone's bucket list. Whereas today, 15, 20 years later, people will save up and they do what they can because they want to experience what everyone else has experienced, which is walking into imagination and walking into magic. So the fact that it took so long to bring that back is kind of sad, but at the same time, it probably had to happen in order to appreciate Walt's vision. So that's everything that I felt for chapter 16. And I love how respectful and graceful Marty wrote about his true feelings between both CEOs. He admired Eisner's imagination and creativity, but, in his eloquent way expressed towards the end, he wasn't a great leader, and how much hope he had when he found out, Bob Iger was taking over, and all the positive things that Iger has done. So I thought that was very classy of Marty. Also, like, chapter 17 was kind of short, but it was great to hear how his last years before he retired, he was an ambassador in everything positive that he did. And it ties in with the chapter 19 where he was the black sheep because he didn't consider himself a teacher. His dad was a teacher, his brother was a professor, his nephew and his son got their PhDs, and he never saw himself as a teacher. But at the same time, in previous chapters, you saw all the Post-its he left the other Imagineers, ensuring that they knew how much he appreciated and respected them, and didn't realize that these are the people you taught. These are great Imagineers because they learned from you. So it's interesting to see how he saw himself as a leader, but not a teacher. And that's essentially what we are as leaders, like we are teachers. We are here. We are here to help people along. What we've learned, we pass that information along, and we encourage those with different ideas to express those ideas and feel empowered and let them know, hey, you may not be a leader yet, but you have that potential. And as your teacher, your leader, your mentor, I'm here to help you get to the next step, whatever that next step is for you, As far as the commandments, there's so many of them, and I highlighted all the ones I liked, which almost ended up being all of them. So I just okay, pick the ones I genuinely really like. In terms of his original 10, the first one is know your audience, and I think that makes sense regardless of what role you have. Like, if you understand who you are speaking to and respect them, you'll have an engaged audience. And organize the flow of people and ideas. Make sure there's a logic and sequence in your stories and in the way guests experience them. I thought that was an important one too. The Leader's Bible. Like I said, I highlighted all of them. Yeah, I highlighted all of them, so I'm not going to go through each one. But my favorite one was make sure yours is not the only voice you are listening to. And I think that's important. And Bob Iger followed that himself, he wasn't just well, I think this. Let me see what other ideas are out there. And if it aligns with what I think, then that I'm going the right course. But if I have people that are contradicting me, maybe my idea or my thought process isn't quite the right route to take. So, that's a pretty big one. For the Leader's Bible Part 2, make curiosity your search engine. I thought that one was, I hadn't considered that, but that it should, if we're going to continue to be progressive and innovative, we should continue being curious. And my favorite one of all, take time to teach. Mentors are mensches. And I had to look that word up. I wrote it down. So mensch means a person of integrity. So mentors are people of integrity and honor. And that is heavy, but at the same time, it makes sense that mentors do have honor and integrity, Let's see. Oh my God. Then the last 10, I highlighted almost all of them again. So I'm going to stop there.
We had the same mensch when we were leads in Fantasyland, which was Mike. And yeah, he did definitely, like, he taught me a lot. So, like, it's just be a mentor. It's so good for everybody. And it teaches you too to be a mentor as well. I didn't know you were part of the Pressler era. That's kind of cool. I mean, for this story, not for the time you were, obviously. But
towards the end. I
that's
think
it's cool to
I
know
hired in
that was
the
not.
year, the year before Bob Iger became CEO. So
Wow.
yeah.
And yeah, so there's no engagement, no positivity, were the two things I wrote down. It's crazy.
Yeah. Like
Jenna,
my
did
most
you
positive
hire
memories
in
as
the
a new
Pressler?
hire was because of the fellow cast members.
Hmm.
So
So Jenna, were you during the Pressler era at all?
No. And Judy, what year was that? What year did you hire in? The struggle of Zoom.
I hired in 2004. I was
Okay.
hired in for the 50th anniversary. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, I'm from Chicago, so I came here with the Disney College program. I got really, really tired of snow and said I'm done with this, but didn't want to go in the middle of me in college, so I waited to do it the semester after I graduated. So it's funny because everybody else was worried about like what college credits would give them, and me, I'm like, I really was just doing it for fun. 9 years later, here we are. Anyways. So no, I believe Iger and Cole Glazer was the head of the park when I started, because it was a big deal because I was in PhotoPass and he created PhotoPass. So I met Cole Glazer multiple times, and it actually always kind of made me mad because every single time, there's times I forgive him if it was like months apart, but there was one week I met him every day that week, and every day he'd come up to me and go, "Hi, nice to meet you." I would be like, dude, we should really be on like first name basis by now. But anyways, these last 4 chapters, you really did wait till the end to do all of his leadership lessons. Like, he put it all in one book. So I did the same thing. I pretty much highlighted like all 30 commandments. So there was a few ones that I was trying to pick out that also spoke to me, that wasn't necessarily a commandment, but one of the quotes I really liked was, "The parks are about reassurance." I've never honestly considered it that way. I really liked reading about that perspective, even though that wasn't Marty, but that was John, I don't remember his last name. Anyways, I've never thought of it like that. I've always in my head thought like, this is like everybody's escape from reality, everything terrible that's going on in the world. Like, this is our place to completely live in fantasy. And I actually really like the idea that it isn't fantasy, this is real. And this is something that, we do offer hope in the world with everything else going on. I just really like that concept. The other part that I thought was a good theme through a few of these chapters was the blank page, that he mentioned that a few different times about the blank page. And I think that's a really good philosophy of life, to always see your life as a blank page. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but it's really your choice of what you're going to mark down. And you might fail and you might not fail. But there's always another blank page waiting for you. So I just really like those 2 big parts. But these 4 chapters is one of those things where like we could probably do 4 other meetings just discussing everything that he put in this particular one. So I'll keep it short, but those are 2 different ones that definitely spoke to me.
Yeah, for me, what you said made so much sense about the reassurance and the hope. Like, and actually, until you said it, I hadn't even really thought about it. But you're right. Like, our parks do give people hope, and that's awesome, especially now, right? Wow, that's cool. Okay, Jessica, now it's all on your shoulders. So.
Oh, yay. Really quick, they actually are still doing the diversity talks. I don't know if you've seen the emails. I watched the very first one that happened during the Black Lives Matter movement, and it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. And they have one on Wednesday with a whole bunch of people in our circle and talking about diversity and inclusion, and I'm really excited to watch it. So it's on Wednesday. I forget at what time, but it should be there.
Bringing it up, do you know, is there a way to watch the old one? Because you're right, I hadn't thought about that, but that's a great.
I think there is. I think if you go like past that email, they sent like a follow-up being like, here's the link to watch it. They've done 2 now, and I was only able to make the first one because I forget I had something going on the second one. And the next one is on Wednesday. But yeah, I believe in the email, they sent like a follow-up email talking about how great it was and how many people signed in, and here's a link to watch it. So I think you can probably find it on the Hub or something, but check that out. And then for this week, I thought a good sign would be leader. So when we were learning about dreamers, I talked about how this is the person sign. When you have like your thumbs up and they go down, that's person. So we did dreamer. So for leader, the sign for lead is you have one hand out straight like that, and your other hand kind of cups and grabs it and moves forward. So you're leading the hand behind. So lead, and then you do the for the person. So leader. So that's the sign for leaders. And I thought it was kind of appropriate for the end of Marty's book. I really enjoy how much he kind of lets other people talk, and how when he was talking about Eisner towards the end, he kind of referenced other articles and what people said to kind of explain how he was feeling, and giving credit to other people in the company and just outside and all of that, which I think is really cool, that he definitely would put other people forward in their ideas and support people, which I think is what his whole book is about. And some things that kind of stuck out to me in chapter 16, I really liked this quote, and I think it's important. You can fool all of the people some of the time, and some of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. I think that's so important to remember, that if you don't know, people will know. Like, you have to do your research. If you don't know the answer, like in Bob Iger's book, tell them, I will come up with it and I will come talk to you once I figured out the correct answer. Like, you can't just say whatever and expect people to believe you, because then you lose trust, which is a big part of the book and leadership, is building trust. And if you are trying to fool people all the time, someone's going to figure it out, and you're going to lose their trust in you. I also really liked his whole concept of those personalized notes, and how he just gave them to people and they meant so much to them. And that's kind of what the grape sodas are. So whenever I think of that, it reminds me of the grape sodas that we give to cast members and how important it is. I mean, I have all of the ones I've been given, and I think they're so cool. And just like someone noticed something that you did, even if it's small, and it makes you realize, hey, what I'm doing is important, and people notice it. And it's I don't know, it's like you get that warm fuzzy feeling. So I just think that's so important to remember and to keep doing, especially when we go back. Things are going to be weird, and our cast are going to have maybe some trepidations about going back, or some fears. So just making sure to give warm fuzzies and remind them that what they're doing is important and good, I think is so important. I especially love the little grape soda magnet that we get now. That's my favorite. And then I loved in the Walt's narration portion, where he was talking about kind of the secret. He said, well, we are like a little mystery in our films, but there's really no secret about our approach. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. So it's kind of what you were talking about, Judy, about having a curiosity lead you. And it's true. If you're not curious, you're not going to want to do it, and then you're not going to build the passion, and then it's just going to fall flat. So making sure to keep moving forward and using our curiosity to guide us is a great way to lead and also move forward as a company and in our own leadership journey. And then I really liked Edward Bulwer-Lytton when it was kind of what he said he would base his ghostwriting off of, that whole thing he had about Walt, where he said, sometimes I wonder if common sense isn't another way of saying fear, and fear too often spell failure. We talk about that a lot too, of being afraid and how sometimes it prevents us from moving forward or trying something. And one of his Ten Commandments was about how sometimes winners fail too. So it's okay if you fail, you got to learn from it and keep moving forward. And I agree, all of the commandments, I highlighted so many of them, but out of all of them, I kind of brought it down to, I would say two. So I liked the be responsive and make decisions. That's what leaders do. I myself have a hard time making decisions because I like to make everyone happy. And every decision you make, there's going to be people who aren't happy. And it's important to be a leader. You have to be decisive and take in all of the facts and make that decision to move forward. And you can talk to people about how they feel and try and work through that. But it's important to make those decisions instead of just being like, someone else can make it. Because that's not what a leader does. And then I also really liked the be optimistic. If you're not positive, who else will be? I think it's so important to be positive, especially when times are tough, because it's so easy to be a naysayer and to be negative and see all of the things that can go wrong or all of the problems. So trying to look at it from a different perspective and infuse positivity is so important. And that's something I really strive to do. And then I really liked Craig Russell's lessons that he had from Marty. I thought they were really cool and kind of expanded upon his commandments. And the one that I thought encompassed the whole book is the most valuable implements in our trade are trust, collaboration, and partnership. With these tools, you can do truly amazing things. That's basically every leadership book of the two that we've read so far, is that we need to collaborate, we need to build trust, and we need to work together because there's only one name on the door and it's not one specific person. And then just to end it on a happy note is we must every day remind ourselves to have fun in the business of fun. So those are all of the little nuggets I had from the 4 chapters chocked full of stuff. So sorry I went on for a while, but that's what I gathered from it.
The magnets are available, but Judy specifically orders them for our area. So we definitely appreciate that, Judy, because I also love the magnets. I have like 10 on my fridge right now. So.
Yeah.
Judy's a magnet rock star. I always go to the office and see her rocking them out.
I was actually Teresa. I don't know how she came up with the idea, but she's like, hey, look, come here. And she showed me the bottle cap. I'm like, that's cool.
It
Like,
might
you
have been
want
her
one?
idea, but you are the champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love putting them together because I read everything everyone writes for each other, and it's inspiring, to see how much support everyone has for each other, even for like the sometimes mundane things. Like I think the last ones I read was amongst the boutique girls, and they just thanked each other for just checking up on each other, because I don't remember which one it was, but I guess she was having a hard time with a hairstyle, and instead of someone just barging in and like, you know what, it doesn't seem like you know what you're doing, so let me finish your hair, they're like, hey, everything okay? Are you doing fine? You're doing a good job. Don't stress about it. Just holler if you need help. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so sweet, and the fact that they recognized that they needed support rather than just help, and that cast member appreciated just being asked and just being reminded, like, you got this, relax, we're here for you, and what happens. And I just thought it was the sweetest thing. So I love reading those. So
maybe we can have
I'm happy to make all those.
Board and just have like a grape soda board or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Maybe that's what I need to be doing right now. I'll help you make all the grape soda magnets that I'll put together.
Doug, I know you didn't read, but did you ever get a really good grape soda that inspired you or helped you get through the day?
Ooh.
Doug,
Who? Oh, what?
did you ever get a grape soda that really encouraged you a lot?
Yeah, actually, I have it on my refrigerator.
Aw.
There you go, Judy.
Yep.
Just what we were talking about.
Yeah. There's my grape sodas, and then I keep all of the ones that I get for where is it? It was from Chris. And it was the day that was out there doing pancakes all day.
Yes.
And she thanked me for all my work making pancakes for our cast. They really appreciate it, Chris.
Oh.
Very good.
So, but I keep them all. I even have a bunch from back before when we had those 3-part ones, and I still have coins. Do you remember those, Judy? Do you remember those?
The tops and store ups, yes.
They were around for 3 months when I hired in. So I got like 2 of them, and no one ever even told me what they were for. And then
Yeah, that I have a bunch of those too. So
I think Jessica's right. We need to write like a grape soda a day when we get back. Encourage everybody to do the right thing.
That's what one of the leads were doing in my training is they suggested trying to sit down and do like a 4 keys card or a grape soda, at least one a day, just to kind of help reflect on your day and show appreciation to your cast. And I thought that was really cool. And so throughout the day, like I have a little notebook that I keep. And one of the things I'm also asking the cast is, what does a leader mean to you? Like, what would you like to see from your leads and your leadership team? So that I spend that time with every cast member, that I try at least do one a day and write down some of their responses. And then I'm hoping to compile it down the road, but it helps me focus on like at least one person a day and show them that I care about their opinion. And I think that's kind of what Marty was saying with those showing people is really important.
I also,
one person's, go ahead. Doug, sorry, go ahead.
I was also, what I would do is also do it for other complexes, or not other lines of business. So would like when we'd have a code V or whatever, the cast member that came from custodial that did it came, I would make sure to get their name and send them a 4 keys card, or if an attraction helped me with a guest, I would send them a 4 keys card. I just felt that that's, how would make our partnerships a lot better, was to just also be recognizing people outside of it. I always made sure to give 4 keys cards to my closing runners when I would close, because they restock their stores, and to my closing cast members, and those things I think are really great, and I think the cast members really like them.
I like how this
Everyone wants to know their work was appreciated.
Go ahead, Jenna, what'd you say?
Oh, sorry. Everybody always wants to know their work was appreciated. So I really do think sometimes, even though it's a small gesture, and I know that there's cast members that will roll their eyes when they get one because they're like, whatever, yeah, I showed up to work. But I think in the long run, if they didn't get it at all, that even the people who are bitter about it would still rather than know that we appreciated that they showed up to work, even when it's a simple gesture. Best experiences I have looking back at any time at Disney has all been the ones where everybody really did want to work together as a team. They didn't have that one person who goes, well, I just didn't want to be here. It was Cars Land, where attractions would help the photographer out by moving the car so they wouldn't get a glare in the camera, things like that, where like everybody just was willing to hear what the other one's needs were. And at the end of the day, Cars Land, 105 degrees, that pavement is unforgiving, and yet everybody walk away saying what a great day they had because everybody worked together and appreciated the other's work.
Yeah, those are one of the things I'm sure, Judy, probably, I don't know if you remember the actual statistic, but in our classes they talked about, especially like the millennials and on generation will stay at a job based on appreciation more than pay, like something like 70% or something, giant number like that. They want to be appreciated more than even just a big paycheck. So
I just started an HR class, and my professor just said something like that the other day, that she said that there's some study that showed when it comes down to it, like in its very basic form, the older generations work for the career and the younger generations work for the people. The people that like the coworkers, the people that they work with. So I thought that was an interesting take on it.
that's why I'm still at Disney. I mean, I thought once I finished school, I would move on and get a job in that field. And when I was looking at my options, I didn't want that. I wanted to be at Disney with my team and with my people. And I feel it makes me happy to be there and to be there with the guests and make that magic. And I knew that wouldn't happen if I went into the school districts. And so here I stay.
I did something similar with film. That's the whole reason why I came to California to begin with, is I was determined to go into film. And I did. I was a production assistant on a few different things, and I was treated terribly.
Yeah.
And I kept, and while doing that and working at Disney at the same time, when you had one who really, you walked in and you had an entire group of friends, because that's what they were considered to me, was friends. We hung out outside of work, and who really cared that you were there that day and made your day better. And then I'd go work this other job where they'd roll your eyes if you handed them a coffee. You're like, why am I doing this career that?
Mm-hmm.
So it completely changed my perspective on what I wanted out of a job. I didn't want that. I wanted to be with people.
Wow. So I looked it up, and 79% of employees quit because they feel they're not.
Wow.
That means if there's 5 people in a room, 4 of them are quitting because they are not appreciated. That is a incredible statistic, you guys.
Right. Yeah.
Shows how important grape sodas are.
Give grape sodas. That's our lesson today. We read 4 chapters for no reason. We could have just said give grape sodas.
But we only got to that conclusion by reading the 4 chapters.
The roundabout. It was a roundabout. So Doug, we are going to be doing, I don't have the book. I have a digital copy. It's How to Be Like Walt.
I got it.
She has it. She's going to get it for us. And then it's supposed to be like a biography, basically, of Disney. Is that correct?
Yes, but the reason why I like this one is because they write it almost as if it's a fictional character.
There you go.
Oh.
So it's written more like a book than it is biography, even though every single thing written in it is 100% true.
So that one would be a good one to jump back in with us if you want. I don't have.
I already plan on it. I already got
It's seriously my favorite book. Like for leadership, it's my absolute favorite. And I love the Bob Iger book. It's probably a very, very close second. Marty's book was definitely interesting to read, and I enjoyed it, but I did feel like that was more informative. But like for favorite leadership books, the Iger one for me is up there, but this one is still, just because of the way it's written, it just, like I said, it's really written like it's like an adventure story. So you're like in Walt's journey with him, and you're like, you just want him to succeed, even though you know he does.
Let's see, I haven't actually looked at this yet. Has anybody looked at how long chapters are and stuff like that?
Oh, I don't remember.
See, chapter 1.
Chapter 1 is 18 pages.
Okay. What's chapter 2? 75.
And it's written out of order, so it goes through like, it does a lot of like sidebars. So you'll go through like his life as a child, and then all of a sudden you'll jump to when he already opened Disneyland, and then we'll jump back to his life as a child, because it pulls from it. Like while it's telling you the story, is saying like why he created something later on, and then it will skip back to like the chronological story of his life.
Chapter 2 is about 30 pages, so chapter 1 and chapter 2 is 50 pages.
What do you guys think? Is that good?
1 and 2 is probably good.
Yeah, two chapters.
I think so. That sounds good. I mean, I'm super excited about it.
Like I said, I really hope I'm not hyping this up. Tanner loved it. I know, because I made Tanner read it, and I know like he'd have my back on this, and he said it was great too.
I don't think anything's ever going to be like that introductory chapter in Bob Iger's book where I was just like,
that was good.
to my seat, just like, oh my God.
Now, there's some really crazy dark parts of Walt's history that I never knew that this book goes through, and I think that's partly why I liked it so much, because it goes through like when his father hit him with a hammer. Yeah, like crazy stuff where you're just like, so like it's the part of Disney that you never ever hear about ever, but like it helped shape why he believed in happiness and who he was. Like that's why it's like it's fun to read.
No spoilers. No
I
spoilers.
know, okay, I'll stop. Too excited.
Guys, that sounds awesome. 1 and 2 then next week, and I'll send out the recording and all the invitation stuff.
Any other signs? Has anyone thought of signs you want to know? No? Okay, I'll keep pulling out random stuff.
Okay.
Leader was a good one.
That was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, because if somebody is asking for a manager, it's good to know.
Yeah, I could do boss as well. That's a good one.
Yeah, bosses. Oof.
No?
No,
Yeah,
right?
not really.
I want to talk to your manager. Boss? Manager?
No, bosses to me is negative.
It is negative, but I'm saying like a guest might use that sign and then you would know. It's not for us to necessarily use for
Oh,
them.
then you just, who are you talking about? Who? Don't know that. She didn't cover that in our book club.
All right, guys. Well, I will see you next week then.
You guys,
All right, sounds good.
I will
See you guys.
be back next week.
I'll
All right, cool.
look forward to it, Doug.
Ignore my review.
Bye.
Oh, I
Bye,
have.
buddy.
Okay.